This is episode 6 of Building in Public, a weekly series where I sit down and go through any of the lessons or values I've learned over the last week in business and distill them to you in bite-sized forms so you can apply them to your own business or your clients and everyone can win. And it's been a big 2 weeks. We've shot campaigns, we've shot TVCs, we partnered with local marketing agencies, we sponsored a women's empowerment event in self-defense to do an event that honestly, I hate that it has to happen, but it really does. And Jordan Tan is a Perth legend for putting this together, and it was an honor to be able to sponsor that. I went down south and spent time with one of my best friends and just disconnected for a few hours, a day really. And all of that leads us to here. So straight into the meat of it, active clients, we're still currently at 6, and that is potentially going to change tomorrow, but I'm a big believer in it's not a deal until the contract is signed. So the backstory with that, just for some nuance around this, is I did a job for free, which a few years ago I would have been completely against, but here's why I think we should, at the early stages, be doing more of it. It's very easy at the start to try to act like you are like the biggest agency in your space, because that is what you believe the perception that your clients are looking for is what you should be. And it's not always the case. And I think the reality is the bigger you get, the less capacity you actually have to do free or exchanged value shoots. And this was a brand that 3 years ago when I started, I wrote down on a piece of paper that I wanted to work with. I sent them a DM and they didn't even open it. And then through a referral of a location that we regularly shoot at as a company, connected us. I got a phone call, didn't know the number, answered, and she was like, we have 24 hours to film a TVC commercial that is going to go on the very first episode of Love Island Australia. And I was like, let's go. And she was like, no, tell me, how much is this gonna cost? And I said, if you love the work we do, and the end result is what you desired, and we can do this in 24 hours, all I ask is that I buy you a coffee next week and we sit down and see what it could look like with if we had a month to prepare and what a regular content, engagement would look like with us. We smashed it out. If you watched Love Island Australia and you noticed the splash blanket, that commercial was shot by us. And the week just gone, I sat down and had an incredible meeting with the owner, Rosie, and we are potentially moving into an ongoing arrangement, which I'll find out and you'll find out by the next time this video is up. So it highlighted to me, one, the fact that being able to provide value is sometimes deeper than just the Instagram reels and the YouTube videos. Sometimes the value to provide is the actual work itself. And sometimes it's hard for small to medium-sized companies to see the value in the work until it's done. This is by no means a blanket statement, no pun intended, because there are companies out there who will just use you for your services and never speak to you again. Pardon me. So it is your job as a business owner to do your own due diligence and make sure that any decision you make, you are comfortable with that. It is like gambling. Not that I do any of that nonsense, but they say you should never gamble with money that you don't want to lose. And it's the same with your time and your services. Don't waste your time or services if you are not okay with never seeing the end result. So everyone is trying to find new clients, figure out ways to generate leads, whether they're organic or paid. Maybe start with a bit of a unorthodox method, which is a kind of agreement where you do a once-off for free in the hopes that if the results are there, you'll meet up and catch up and be able to go from there. But yeah, so the clients are 6 and maybe 7 tomorrow. Currently building. So this is actually really exciting. So I mentioned in the last video that I'm currently building my second company that is going to act as a support almost to my primary company, which is Stay a While, a creative agency. And the one thing I never want to do is waste time or money. As I just mentioned, I'm not comfortable with losing. And before I go off and try to build this company into what I hope will be the biggest thing I ever do, I had to validate the idea. And a few videos ago now, I explained my company's validation process and my own personal. And the first part is mapping. And that involves me going out and speaking to my ideal target audience and interviewing them. I bought almost 10 people, breakfast, lunch, coffees, whatever they needed, and took about 2 hours of their time. I went through an onboarding form that I created in Typeform to basically identify pain points, price points, any struggles, any nuances that I missed, and really boil down, is this second business worth moving forward? And I'm very happy to report it is. And I'm still not in any stage yet comfortable enough to share what that is. But what I will say is that the next video that goes live will have a real big breakdown on what it looks like. And what I can say is it is going to be a course and a community. And if you've ever wanted to learn or watch and observe as someone builds a course/community from genuinely zero, this is now going to be that series. So these videos may get a little bit longer, or we may split them into two. Let me know down below. But so that's what this week consisted of. You know, we were building out this whole business and what it really needs to look like, cost, all of that. So all these interviews went amazingly well, and I was able to meet some great brands that really do need some help. So the next step for us right now is kind of taking all that data, filtering it out, and seeing what is actually applicable to us. What can we use to now refine our initial idea, and now we can start building, and we'll go into that in the coming weeks. So the win is a really unique one because it is just you guys. It's the fact that I'm having people comment on my videos from halfway across the world and ask some of the most thought-provoking questions I've ever had. That highlights to me that even though it's 100 views, 1,000 views, the intent is so high. And that win, I know one day will translate to hopefully a bigger community and eventually a bigger audience that I can help. And that win is invaluable. And it's hard to not overlook it because it is such small numbers. But there's a really great story that I'd love to share. There's this matchmaking expert called Paul Brunson. Now, although I don't necessarily enjoy the matchmaking side of things, the lesson is very applicable for YouTube and this whole space, which is he knew the value that he could provide to the world and how he wanted to present it. He wanted high quality, premium feel to really discuss the nuance and struggles and pain points that people were experiencing in their relationships, and he wanted to do it in long form content. Now, this is a few years ago before YouTube was even like as big as it is now. So he took a risk and self-funded his entire YouTube channel beyond just a DSLR and a Rode mic. I'm talking teams, crews, lighting, really high-end microphones, the whole lot. And he averaged 3 to 11 views a video. And the kicker, the absolute punch in the face of it all, is that one of those viewers was his mum. But one of the other viewers was Oprah. Fucking Oprah. Like, that is the craziest thing. And what did she do? She reached out. They started working together, and then they went on to launch the largest matchmaking network to have ever existed. And it kind of highlights that in this world of where everyone's telling you to push volume and really encouraging you to look at maybe the more fluffy and superficial metrics, this is the most important one: intent. Because if you got 1 million views and not a single person bought your product, enrolled in your course, uses your service, leaves a comment, respectfully, they're useless to you. But if you had 100 views and one of those persons turned out to be a client, that ROI you can't even manufacture in a platform like Facebook ads. It's so great. So when you're feeling stuck and feeling like no one is watching these videos, which I feel like sometimes as well, you never know who is watching and who is on the other side. So show up every day, provide the best value you possibly can, and do it in a way that people feel like they know you before they even buy. When it now comes to Creative of the Week, I'm going to showcase the end result of a recent photo shoot, video shoot, UGC campaign, something like that, and just highlight why it all worked so well. Before in the past, we went down purely the ad creative route, but I understand there are photographers, cinematographers that follow along now, and I think there are some cool nuances and some inspiration to be found from some of the campaigns we get to shoot here in WA. So I really want to explain, I guess, like the thought process behind shooting a campaign for a swimwear brand and why location, models, but most importantly, actors and how it helps. These are some of the images I'm going to overlay just over here on how the shoot went. The biggest thing I really want every creative to understand, and you've probably experienced it multiple times in your career, which is actors aren't always models, and models aren't always actors. Having someone who can communicate not just what the product looks like, but what the feeling is attached to it is the single biggest lever a brand can pull when it comes to online or social advertising. Because the reality is, if your model doesn't look happy to be there, if what they're saying does not feel authentic, you will lose the audience you are trying to attract purely by default of inauthentic content. It's that simple. So I know it's hard, and I know it requires people to go the extra mile and find people that aren't just model material, but are also have the capacity to promote, produce, inspire emotions through a lens. And you can see from these images, the laughs, the characters, the way they held themselves. It was a moment. It was a vibe, as much as I hate that word, versus very easy, locked off, serious e-com imagery, which is great, has a purpose. Again, websites, Shopify stores, Facebook ads, the whole lot. But when it comes to actually producing a campaign of something at this scale that is probably going to be used across multiple platforms, the emotion that's conveyed is almost more important than the product itself. Because if the model doesn't look happy to be there, neither will your customer. And that is episode 6 in the bag. I am so grateful for every single one of you that follows along each week. Again, if there's anything particularly you want me to go through, Facebook ads, creatives, models, briefs, anything, please leave a comment down below and I will either directly respond or make an entire video about it. All my links and all that kind of fun stuff is in the description down below. And for those who really want to be here, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and if not, I'll see you all next week.